Quick word, this video is late. I wanted it out before Hazard dropped, and rewrites were delayed further, so real quick. Season 14. What a boring, thoughtless patch to open the season. Tanks are still unaddressed powerhouses, and healers are healing themselves even better. Why even buff the damage passive at that point? Also, Marvel Rivals. It's everything Overwatch 2 wishes it was. All of Marvel's rivals are designed from the ground up to be solo viable, whereas Overwatch was originally designed with the expectation of teamwork. Now, Overwatch 2 is struggling because it so desperately wants to shed that origin without redesigning every hero element to do it. Let me not spoil too much of the video. Enjoy. Hi, my name is Darugo Sueño, and I'm an Overwatchaholic. An excess watcher, if you will. Does that joke read? I've been overwatching casually since Season 1. OG Season 1, when Ana was first dropped and Sim was the support. Back when supports didn't all need to heal. Nobody saw the vision, the potential. Just like nobody sees the real issue with 5v5. I'll be honest, I love the idea of 5v5. It's a case of less being more. One less enemy tank, meaning more options for damage heroes. One less ally tank, meaning more freedom for support heroes. One less tank in general means stronger, more impactful tank plays in general. This is what we were meant to get with 5v5, but the devs screwed up. When they dropped the tank slot, they also dropped the idea that each role had defined jobs in a fight. This is because back in Overwatch 1, these defined jobs made teamwork a necessity, and that's apparently a bad thing in a team-based game. Once in a fight, your tank duo is required to take space from their tanks, your damage heroes need to coordinate their attacks, and your support heroes almost exclusively focus on keeping all four of them alive. Instead of trusting that one tank can still take space reliably in this scenario, they overcompensated and threw out teamwork altogether by introducing the greatest sin of Overwatch 2, big DPS. That's what I call Overwatch 2 tanks. You're not the defender and space maker anymore. You're a third damage hero, but with 2 to 3 times the HP. Every tank from Overwatch 1 that they could turn into a damage hero, they did. Exhibit A, Orisa. She could have stayed how she was, another barrier tank but with a specialization in mass movement denial, as opposed to Sig's single target rock or Ryan's domineering presence. Her problem wasn't her solo ability, but that it was oppressive paired with another tank. But no, they threw away her kit and turned her into a damage hero that gets in your face while keeping herself unkillable. Need more convincing? Exhibit B, Doomfist. They literally turned a damage hero into a tank. They didn't even really change his kit either. Uppercut's movement was given to Slam and replaced with a guard that has the same situational utility as Genji's Deflect, who, by the way, is another damage hero. Dive an enemy, use their aggression against them, and secure the kill. That's a damage hero playstyle. Even the tanks I'd consider as still traditional have gotten more damage-like as time goes on. Ryan? Second Fire Strike and Cancelable Charge. The latter of which is wholly welcomed, don't get me wrong, but still obviously meant to make Pin more a movement utility than an all-in attack. Zarya can now use both bubbles on herself, making for a selfish tank that only focuses on their own damage ramping and elims. Sig's rock got more damage, Winton's Tesla ignores defenses, and D.Va has a goddamn near 300 damage burst. 300! That's damage hero numbers. Look, I'm not saying there's no room for offense-based tanks, because there is. Offensive defense is a valid design, and Overwatch 1 had them from the jump. But at least make their offense contribute to team survival beyond elims, lowering the enemy's team. People have been asking for years for Hog's self-heal to also heal nearby allies, or drop a heal zone at least, making his sustain the team sustain. Junker Queen almost has team sustain. Shout is nice and all, but because it's also tied to a movement buff, the sustain is very superficial and short-lived. The one time the balanced team acknowledges movement is OP, Lucio and Juno are right there, guys. Mauga's Cardiac Overdrive is actually an excellent example of this offensive-defense design, enabling allies to heal by doing damage when grouped up. But its channel time got nerfed because all Maugas do is mag dump the other tank, when he's actually really useful against flying heroes. Like Mercy. Shoot Mercy. Please, for the love of God, shoot the hero that can rev. Even the upcoming tank, Hazard, is designed primarily like a damage hero. Leap is a damaging movement ability designed to get you in the enemy's face, optimal range for your shotgun primary, or holding spike guard for group chip damage. It's almost as good as Deflect or Power Block, but rather than punish the enemy's response, it simply does free damage while reloading your gun. About the only thing tankish in his kit is a spike wall, But ironically, the only thing comparable is another damage hero's ability, Ice Wall. Side note, Mei can honestly be a tank hero by today's standards. Self-healing with invulnerability, Ice Wall to defend and make space with, and dangerous close-range damage that isn't a shotgun. Hell, you can even give her a freeze back, or that weird frostbite that they chickened out on, because God forbid the freezing character deal meaningful slow. Her ult even fits a tank, disabling movement and making space like Hammer Down or Downpour. I can see it. Mei for Tank 2025. Anyway, this abandonment of teamwork as a requirement affected the support role as well. Healing is overtuned, since not every tank can mitigate damage reliably, and every support has some decent damage potential. Juno gets homing shots that are just as good for damage as healing, as well as flight useful for taking high ground or offensive moves. Yari puts down a heal turret and focuses on damage, only needing beam to save someone from near death. Lifeweaver... actually, he's not very damage focused. Ironically, he's also seen as one of the weaker supports now because of it. The ecosystem is designed for supports to also be damage dealers, leaving him in an awkward spot. Kiriko is crazy strong on headshots and a sleeper flanker if you play her TP as a retreat button and use Suzu selfishly. Moira. Need I say more? I get that part of Overwatch 2's design was intentionally moving away from the team-heavy MOBA aspects and leaning harder on it being a shooter, but that's where Overwatch's substance was. Heroes with niches and uniquenesses that come together to win the day through coordination and teamwork. When every hero is expected to be some flavor of damage and a role-fitting ability comes second, where does the true damage heroes fit in? They've nearly all lost their niches in an effort to cut down on one-tricks, making most of them interchangeable and boring. The damage passive? Forget it. It barely matters and was just an excuse to avoid the dirty deed of nerfing healing. Yet, if tanks can still get as many kills without it, what's even the point? If Overwatch 2 is going to abandon teamwork in niches and hard roles, what separates it from something like Apex? Apex has roles in the same loose terms that Overwatch is heading into. Sure, control legends have defensive setups, and support legends raise your survival chances. But at the end of the day, when it really comes down to it, your win or loss is determined by how well you shoot the same guns everyone else can use. The abilities are just flavors of the same character, Titanfall Soldier. We don't need another tank for Overwatch to suddenly start working again. 5v5 is literally the last thing holding the damn 2 up next to the logo after all the broken promises and monetization schemes. When they go on to test 6v6, they're going to have to make tanks feel more like tanks again, or at least less like big DPS, and it's going to give the illusion that 6v6 was the cure, and not the rebalancing itself. We can have real tanks in 5v5. We can have roles matter again. Tank heroes that demand space for damage heroes to make offensive plays and support heroes to cover their shortcomings. We can demand teamwork again. It's okay if people playing solo in a team game de-rank. We can have rank actually depend on your ability to synergize with your team instead of purely win-loss by a fixed rate. If the devs just tried. Only time will tell if the devs ever realize this. After all I've said, I'm still going to be dragging my dumbass into Season 14 to play nothing but Hazard till I get the new cute and pixel. At this point, I've sunken too much time into maintaining that 100%. Until then, see you next time. Thanks for listening. I hope my point got across well. I just want to see Overwatch succeed, and with Marvel Rivals coming out soon, it needs to step up or it'll bleed players fast. I'll be making more videos on Overwatch and giving my 2 to 10 cents on balance and design, as well as returning to my Pokemon ideas. Maybe alternating? We'll see.